Okay, welcome again. So my name is Connie Weber from the European Crowdfunding Network, and I'm very happy that we have such great speakers today. So we have Olga, who is CFO at Bettervest, an impact crowdfunding platform based in Germany. We have Valéry, who's responsible for open innovation in Europe and international at EDF, which is France's largest energy provider. We have Luis, who is CFO at Parity, also an impact crowdfunding platform based in Portugal. We have Sonja, who is the coordinator of this project, who is organizing this, and who is an expert in social innovation and renewable energies. And we have Massimo, who is general manager at GVESCO, which is an energy service company controlled by Citibank. So we have a very great panel. The structure is that everyone will give a very short impulse speech so that we know a little bit the background and point of view of the participants. And then we will hand over to panel discussions. And if you have any questions in the meanwhile, you can use the field, the question and answers field, and I will pick them up and summarize them and either involve them in the panel discussion or then afterwards. So we will make sure to address your questions. I will start with a very short introduction. I try to make it short to set a little bit the scope and boundaries of this capacity building workshop and the background you may know for getting the idea of this webinar today. So the goal of the CitizEE capacity building activities is to guide and train European public authorities to scale up investments for energy efficiency in the building sector through attracting private citizen investments. And of course, you are also very welcome if you are not a public authority today, because basically the concept of matching private funds with public funds to finance the energy transition is quite interesting, and we have a few very nice examples here. So maybe a short background again. Why are we focused on the building sector? So buildings are in the European Union responsible for 40% of the energy consumption, and therefore improving the building stock or make it more energy efficient is a crucial key to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, as set by the European Green Deal. And so out of this building stock today, 75% are energy inefficient, which means that used energy basically goes to waste, and therefore there are large investments required to renovate them or to make new ones more energy efficient. And citizen financing is, among many other financial instruments or public funding, one tool which shall be used to increase investments in these buildings. And what is citizen financing? So basically it's an innovative financial scheme where people or communities pool together their own financial resources to create an infrastructure for their own common good. So it's people financing projects that are for their well-being. And main citizen financing mechanisms, or the best known, are crowdfunding and cooperatives. So in this CitizEE project, which is organizing this workshop, we are trying to pilot exactly these citizen financing schemes. So we will not present you the results of the last 2.5 years. So we will focus very shortly on the partners involved. So it's WIP, where we have Sonja here today, Energy Invest, Stiftung Umweltenergierecht, and us, the European Crowdfunding Network, who are exploring together with our pilot regions, who are Parity in Portugal, VEB in Belgium, VIPA in Lithuania, and REGEA in Croatia, how we can set up investment platforms backed by public funding and integrate some citizen financing mechanisms. So yeah, this is what I just said, just summarized. So we want to create national or regional investment platforms backed by public European funds, and integrate tailored or adopted citizen financing schemes like crowdfunding or cooperative models to match these public funds. And the overall goal is to set up large-scale community energy efficiency programs so that private investments can be attracted. And another second goal of this project, why we are also organizing this workshop here, is to build a little bit the know-how and capacity of the regional and national key stakeholders or of interested people who just want to learn more about this. So the main results, we will also soon publish a readable tool where we try to summarize the most important recommendations and hints on how to establish citizen financing schemes for energy efficiency. So the basic idea is that we want to create recommendations how to set up the financial and operational environment, that we want to try to provide experiences on how to use more efficiently public funds and how to attract private investors. We want to enhance the capacity and awareness towards citizen financing. So overall, we and the crowdfunding platforms may emphasize this. There is still a lack of awareness and capacity with regards to innovative financing schemes such as crowdfunding. And of course, we want to enable higher innovation rates. If you want to learn more about the project, please feel free to visit our website, follow our social media channels, and yes. I also, as this session today is focused very, very much on crowdfunding. So we have two crowdfunding platforms here. And we have ÖDF reporting about their experiences using crowdfunding. So I will give a very, very short introduction. So basically, crowdfunding is a practice of funding a project or a venture by raising many small amounts of money from a large number of people, typically via a platform in the internet. And as this is such a simple mechanism, there is a wide range of different crowdfunding models. So we can differentiate between donation-based crowdfunding, which is really giving some money without expecting any material or financial return. We differ reward-based crowdfunding, where you invest something and get a small material return, so no financial incentive. We have lending-based crowdfunding, which is usually a classical loan compared to what you get from a bank, where you give some money for a certain period of time and receive a certain interest rate back. And we have equity-based crowdfunding, which is a quite popular model for cooperatives, for example, where people get shares for the investments and can participate in the revenues. Also, so how can crowdfunding now engage with, how can public authorities now engage with crowdfunding? So there are also different possibilities. Some of them we will see today. Others, I'm happy to provide you more information about this. So the public authorities can either launch their own campaigns on a crowdfunding platform for a specific project. They can also create their own crowdfunding platform. They can just select specific projects and decide that these projects who already have received funding and thus market acceptance got further funding. And they can also commit to co-finance successful crowdfunded projects. But now I don't want to talk more about crowdfunding or the CitizEE project. I want to jump into the presentations of our speakers and panelists, and maybe we start with the order we have here on the picture. So I would like to ask Olga to jump on. I will stop my screen sharing.
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you. I will share my screen as well now. Okay, do you see it? Yeah, okay, perfect.
Not yet. Now.
Now, okay, perfect. So yeah, good afternoon again to everyone. My name is Olga. I am CFO at Bettervest. Bettervest is a crowdfunding platform founded in 2012. The funding idea at that time was to make funding available for energy efficiency projects in Germany. And this in such a way that the loans that we are giving out can be repaid from the energy savings only, so without having a financial burden on the cash flows of the company. Some years later, after the first success, we decided to expand our focus as we realized that even in other parts of the world, and even with the help of other further technologies, a CO2 reduction can be achieved. And the CO2 reduction is an essential part of our business model. Today, we see ourselves as an impact platform, funding projects in the field of renewable energy and energy efficiency in Africa and Germany. We also have some projects in Asia and Latin America, but Africa and Germany, these are our focus regions. Technologies that we are funded by now are, for example, in the field of energy efficient renovations of buildings, LED, solar C&I, biogas and biomass, solar home systems, mini grids, and many more. In total, we have funded 103 projects by now, worth more than 60 million euro in more than 20 countries and helped reducing more than 500,000 tons of CO2. Here you see our business model. So at the end, we connect the project owners.
Sorry, Olga, I don't think, now we see it. This slide.
So we connect the projects and the crowd. Projects are coming from Germany and Africa, and the crowd, in our case, these are retail investors from Europe, but we offer our projects also to institutional investors from Europe. I will go to this topic deeper in a few minutes. I mentioned that we see ourselves as an impact platform, so we follow the SDGs and try to tackle them down and to report on them. And these are, some numbers of the SDGs that we have achieved by now. The idea of cooperation plays an important role in our work. We are convinced that together, in cooperation with others, we can tackle the environmental challenge better than each of us alone. Today, we talk about the potential role of public authorities. Our experience in working with public authorities includes co-financing our projects, assisting with technical due diligence and providing legal support. But the biggest impact we see in co-financing. And that's why I will focus on this topic a little bit also because I just have 10 minutes. I would like to briefly outline the path that Bettervest has taken to enable the involvement of other financial actors. We call them co-funders. When we made the decision to offer our fundings to other financial actors in order to achieve a higher impact together, we started contacting them and informing them about our projects. We offered them the following structure that can be used to invest. So as you see, there's the crowd and the co-funders, for example, public authorities or other private co-funders that could invest via the platform, so the online mechanism that we have, into a specific project or SME. So unfortunately, this did not work out. The interest was almost non-existent. but we did not give up. Our idea was to find out why it doesn't work. So we created a questionnaire. The questionnaire included questions about the appetite of the potential co-funders, like the interest rate, maturity, technology, the region, structure, and so on and so on. And we have sent out the questionnaire to our network. During the evaluation, we found that it was not these are not the financial factors that were challenging, but it was the structure itself. The majority of the potential co-funders told us that they don't like to invest in projects directly, especially when they're in Africa, but prefer to have an entity in between, an entity in Europe or Germany. So with this in mind, we sat down with our lawyer and developed a new structure, this one. What you see is the not the full structure. So behind the SPV, there's a holding structure, but what you see is the funding process, and this is the important for now, I think. Otherwise, it would be too complicated. So here you see that the co-funders have two possibilities of investment. The first one over the platform still, but here they also have the possibility to invest into the SPV directly without going using our platform. Exactly, so the crowd and the co-funders, they invest into the SPV, and the SPV forwards the loan to the projects and the SMEs. The advantages are, first of all, the conversion of subordinated loans to senior loans. And the reason why I mention it, because this is especially interesting for many crowdfunding platforms, because by now, many of them are using subordinated loans. So here, the subordinated loans are going into the SPV, and the SPV is forwarding the loan as a senior loan, which makes pledging, so use of collaterals possible. Thereby, it reduces the risks for the investors and increases the interest by some investors to invest in such a project. The second advantage is the ring fencing. So there is a clear allocation of collaterals, especially when there are other lenders in an SPV, and this is something that we usually find. A company does not have one loan only, but sometimes several, and here it's clear allocated to the SPV and pledged to the SPV. The third and probably biggest advantage is blending is possible now. So with blending, I mean the combination of different actors. For example, crowdfunding platforms, public authorities, private companies, and many more. But also the combination of different financial products. For example, subordinated loans and senior loans, grants, guarantees, a very important and interesting topic in blending as well. So this is possible now at the level of the SPV. So we started this year. We are still at the beginning, but we hope that in the future co-funding and blending will also be discovered by more public authorities to enable more renewable energy and energy efficiency projects, and thereby reduce our carbon footprint, the carbon footprint in the world. We have made positive experience by now. We still try to improve and to increase it, but yeah, I hope that I was able to give you an idea how co-financing and the involvement of public authorities can work. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Olga, for this very interesting presentation. So as I mentioned before, if you have any questions to Olga, please write them in the Q&A, and we will address them later in the panel, as we have more speakers whom we want to give the word. So the next one is Valéry.
Oh.
May I ask you to share your screen?
Yes, absolutely. Doing it now. Can you see now?
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very well. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be with you today. I'm representing EDF. EDF's mission is to help society achieve net zero. So this is to set the context. And EDF, you may not know about, but we are a large energy company. The number I like the most is we are number 5 in the world on renewable energy generation. I have a little quiz here to see if you could guess by how much the electricity that EDF is generating in France is cleaner in terms of CO2 emission compared to the EU 27 average. Any guess? I don't know if you can either say loud or write in the chat or something. Anyone? No, I don't know, Connie, if we see the chat or if there is some numbers there.
We have the Q&A, so you can ask in the Q&A.
Okay, because I don't see the Q&A.
No. So if someone from the panel has a guess, then.
No guess? Okay, well, let me tell you, the reply is 15 times cleaner. So this is the EU average emission, and this is EDF in France on the lower side. So this is what I want you to remember from EDF, which may be actually the largest low carbon energy company in the world. And what we want to do is to bring these solutions, these low carbon solutions to our customers on the international level. And that goes to all types of customers from governments, regions, public authorities of cities, and also, of course, industry, companies, enterprises, SME, and families and individuals. So we do a lot of innovation at EDF as a major corporate. We work a lot with startups and crowdfunding platforms. For most of them are indeed startups because they're very recent and looking for the market. We have made a lot with them. We also invest in intrapreneurs, invest in entrepreneurs from outside in many different things. But still, this is not enough because the world is changing very fast, but also the aspirations of our customers, public authorities being a big one, is moving very fast. So what we're trying to do is to do more transformative innovation or disruptive innovation, if we could say. And this is how crowdfunding came. So years ago, actually 5 or 6 years ago, we started with crowdfunding as a way to engage citizens by the belief that the energy transition will not happen only top down. This will not be only the governments or the powerful of the world that will realize and concretize the energy transition. We need the crowd, we need the general population to follow this and to participate into it. So what we have done, we've collected more than 20 million euros, and this is a year-old slide, so this is actually much higher now, but we've done more than around 200 projects through crowdfunding by many different entities from many different countries with almost 10 different crowdfunding platforms from Belgium, Italy, and France. Of course, as Connie reminded, we do that for the donations, for the rewards, the lending, or the equity. But what's even more important is what type of project are we talking about? We're talking about 3 different types of projects. We're talking about our own internal projects. As I said, we are a renewable energy developer. So we do a lot of crowdfunding campaigns for our wind turbines or for our PV installation, either rooftop or ground operations. but we also do that for our clients' projects. And our clients' project could be public authorities or could be industrial partners or clients developing rooftop PV, for instance, on their factory or on their warehouse, these kind of things. And we could do crowdfunding for external projects somewhere where it makes sense to some stakeholders. So I wanted to give you two examples. On the left, you have a heat network in the city of Rouen in Normandy, France, where we got 1 million raised through a subsidiary. And this was a campaign run by the our subsidiary for the city of Rouen. And on the right, you see in Guadeloupe, we had in the city of Bouillante an energy efficiency project where the city was actually launching their own campaign in order to refurbish the public lighting with LEDs. And so these are examples of public authorities. And now, as Connie mentioned, we are several of us working into a GREENFOOT project, which is a wonderful project following up CitizEE or extending CitizEE on a specific focus, creating the intersection basically of sport buildings. You have 1.5 million sport buildings in Europe, which are most of them in a pretty poor shape in terms of energy because they are old or they were not built for energy savings at the time. So we want to increase the level of sustainability of these sport buildings. And we want to do that by crowdfunding the amount needed for the hardware or for the equipment or for the refurbishment to put in place, using first the sports funds to do that. And the sport funds, of course, through another stakeholder, which is very important, which are the infrastructure owners. And in Europe, of course, you can find two types of infrastructure owners. You can find the private clubs owning their own stadium and facilities, but a lot of them are owned by the local authorities, by the public authorities, most of the time by cities or metropoles throughout Europe. So this is a project that we will be very happy to introduce more or to discuss, knowing that we are looking for a replicable system, a scheme of crowdfunding on this community-based, the community being the community, the football community, trying to put some innovation into the financing scheme. And most probably what we want to do, because a survey is showing this possible direction, would be to hybrid, to mix, to combine, if possible, reward and lending in the same campaign. So this is an open question, and we might even learn from some of our panelists today if you think this is possible, but we believe this would be a way to democratize and to engage even more European citizens. And in GREENFOOT, we have a few high-profile demonstration operations, actually 4 of them. And one of them is with the French Federation of Football, which is in their training center, National Training Center in Clairefontaine, near Paris. And we are right now under discussion with them to make a quite ambitious demonstration campaign that would possibly be financed 100% by the crowd. So with that, I hope you got a little bit of why we are very happy to be with you today.
Thank you very much. I think this was a great insight on how corporates can use crowdfunding to finance projects that support and push the energy transition. I'm looking very much forward also to our next speaker. So Luis, do you want to present?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen. And here it is. So first of all, thank you Eurocrowd for the event. Thank you all for participating in this workshop. My name is Luis. I'm a CFO and co-founder of Parity, and we are a crowd lending platform for impact investment in Portugal. Actually, I was listening Bettervest and Olga, and we have a very common evolution in terms of how we were born and how we evolved in terms of impact investment platform. So we were founded in 2017, based in Portugal. We were initially very focused on renewable energy crowd lending projects, and then eventually we were able to broaden the scope of our platform for impact investment. That's it, for everything that is aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So we believe very much in this alternative finance model. We believe very much in the rise of the impact investing. We know that new generations are much more aligned with these issues and want to put their money where their mouth is. So it's a huge opportunity in terms of alternative finance models, and also a huge opportunity in terms of the investment that is needed to tackle the climate change and the Paris Agreement goals. We, as I was saying, we are in Portugal since 2017, based in Portugal. We have already more than 15,000 investors, which is the platform, with more than 8.5 million of investments made through the platform in more than 125 projects. So the model is tested, the model is working. We believe it very much. Just for a quick snapshot of these 8.5 million euros, more than 5 million euros were made in the last 18 months. So we have a counter-cycle evolution in terms of the economic conditions provoked by the pandemic. So we believe that that was also a new opportunity for people, society, to be more aligned with the social and environmental issues. And we believe that there's funding available on the private sector to tackle the climate change. We are based in Portugal, but we are not exclusively working in Portugal. We nowadays have more than 15% of our base of investors, foreign investors from across all over Europe and also outside of Europe. We are also funding projects outside of Portugal, a little similar to the model that Bettervest is already working on. We work only with European entities or SPVs based in the European Union, and then are making investments, mainly energy efficiency and solar energy investments outside of Europe. So we have been investing or helping to fund investments in Brazil, in Colombia, and nowadays we are also start to having a foot in Africa, namely in Uganda and some other countries that we launch in the couple of weeks. And so this is a model that we try always to make an impact and to show it. So all of these investments more or less are having a relevant impact in terms of avoiding CO2 emissions yearly in the amount of 33,000 tons per year. So this is tangible. This is a model that is also an interesting financial model in terms of a return for the investors, but also tangible in terms of impact of their investments on the community and on the larger community. So this has everything to do with the energy efficiency, the gap that it's missing to tackle the investments that are needed to increase the energy efficiency, and obviously to help the energy transition for the coming years. And the crowd lending, crowdfunding, and the public entities has, well, everything to do one with each other. We would like to be more successful in terms of this matching, but public entities are dealing with the community, and we see it alternative finance and specifically crowdfunding also as a way of funding from the community. So this matching, we would like to have it more clear and more close, and we think we have here the opportunity to show with these pilots and with this CitizEE how we can tackle public and also public and also private entities with community and crowd lending investments. We are responsible for under the CitizEE for the pilot in Portugal. The idea of the investment platform initially was under the umbrella of the EFSI, that is transitioning to the InvestEU, and a lack of feasibility in terms of this transition gave or arise to the need to simplify the model in terms of the pilot in Portugal. So we are nowadays looking at a model that will be much based on the crowd lending, but also to bring on board private investors, namely private equities. I will explain a little further what have we so far secured, but the model will be very simple. The investment platform with a co-investment between crowd lending and private equity. The beneficiaries will be a wide range of entities, public bodies, social institutions that in Portugal are a very relevant pillar of the society, and that also do a strong and relevant work in name of the state, and obviously private entities. The buildings will be obviously public and private buildings, and we are targeting for single energy conservation measures, including renewable energy. We are directing the product on the type of the loan model to public and private bodies, and we also see here as a relevant intermediary in terms of the indirect investment, the ESCOs. So we are targeting final beneficiaries, and we are also targeting ESCOs companies that in Portugal still have a lack of scale and funding to grow and to be able to tackle more and bigger projects. And the final recipients will be, as again, public and private bodies, ESCOs, and also the renewable energy developers. We are in Portugal. We go Parity are also working on another Horizon 2020 project called Panelists that is working with public bodies, namely the National Energy Agency and the Association of the Regional Energy Agencies. So that gave us a good head start in terms of a clear channel and relation with public entities, or at least with energy agencies that work daily and directly with public entities, and to try to give rise and visibility to their needs, and also to try to bring them on board and give visibility to this investment platform that we want to set up. So that was a good head start, but we know that it's not easy to navigate on the public sector, well, at least in Portugal, but I believe that's more or less a general issue all over the rest of the European countries. And the investment platform that we are working on nowadays, it's an investment platform that it will be a marketplace for energy efficiency, including investment at the end of the process. We will call it Ponto Energia. It will be a match between that first project that I referred previously with CitizEE. CitizEE will match the end of the process with an investment solution for the pipeline of projects. It will be coordinated by Parity, ADEN, and RENAI. ADEN, it's the National Energy Agency, and RENAI, the Association of Energy Agencies or Regional Energy Agencies here in Portugal. And the idea will be to, at the end of the process, also to attract private and debt capital to support that pipeline of projects that will be public and also private projects, and obviously to have as a final goal to support the energy efficiency and also renewable energy goals of the European Union. On the investor side, we'll be looking. We are not looking nowadays in terms of funding for public funding. As I said, there's still some lack of visibility on this transition between European frameworks, and we want to advance quickly. So it might be added on in the future, but it's not something that we are incorporating at the moment. So we are basically looking for crowd lending supported by Parity, and also for other private investors. We have also already signalized private equity in Portugal that, if close, will be on board in terms of bringing more investment and giving scale for this investment platform. On the beneficiary side, it's obviously public and private entities. On the public entities, mainly associated with reaching of energy efficiency goals that have already been set by country part, and that will have to be complied. So a lot of investment is lacking in Portugal, and the goals are very ambitious. And on the private side, obviously, it's a solution that makes economic sense because it's a no-brainer in terms of energy cost savings. So typically the issue is sometimes in terms of the visibility, other times in terms of the longer paybacks, but we believe that with the right instrument and with the right financial framework, that might be tackled. So summing up, Parity will be the platform manager. We have already a pre-commitment from a private equity of up to 5 million euros. We, as Parity, we have a funding, or we are going to set up a funding line of up to 1 million euros per year for this specific investment platform. And obviously, we intend to expand this potential and this firepower to eventually other private partners that we might be able to bring on board for the investment platform. So summing up, we believe it very much on the potential of crowd lending for bringing more private investors, and also with the pillar on the institutionals that can give you as also a stronger firepower to tackle a very, very relevant pipeline of projects that have to be made in the next couple of years on the energy and renewable energy fields, if we want really to comply with the goals that Portugal and Europe have signed for. So thank you very much, and this will be my comments about the Portuguese pilot.
Thank you very much, Luis, for these insights. It's really a pity that it's so hard to use this public funding, because there's really a gap. So the Commission wants to channel public funding through crowdfunding platforms, and on the other hand side, it seems still quite complicated. So hopefully that the new InvestEU framework provides good frameworks and potentials for using these funds to push the energy transition. I'm happy to hand over now to Sonja. So she will give us some insights on the social innovation aspects, which are also a relevant pillar of this private investments in energy efficiency.
Yes, thank you so much. Luis, would you be so kind to stop sharing so that I'm able to do it? Wonderful. Okay, kindly let me know if you're able to see the screen.
Not yet.
We give it a second. Quickly trying again.
Now it works.
Wonderful. There are always technical issues. Okay, so thank you very much, Connie. My name is Sonja. I'm the coordinator of the CitizEE project. And today I have the great pleasure to give an impulse speech on social innovation in renewable energy. And my presentation will mostly be focused on social innovation through citizens, which I think is a very important key aspect when it comes to crowdfunding. So I would like to take you on a journey, the journey of social innovation in renewable energy. And therefore, we're going back in time to the early 1970s. In the early 1970s, an energy crisis, also known as oil shock, occurred in the Western world and in particular in the United States, Canada, Western Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. And in addition, some dramatic events such as the nuclear power plant accident in Chernobyl occurred in 1986. And of course, the crises of this period were not without effects. They led to a gradual development of renewable energy in general and to a growing awareness of energy issues amongst citizens. Citizens began to speak up for their concern. It was an upsurge of individualism and do-it-yourself solutions to global problems, according to the lines think globally, act locally. And this was marking the first phase of social innovation in the renewable energy sector. And social innovation in that sense refers to the redesign of social practices, institutions, and networks as a key element through which civil society can find new ways to respond to crises, such as the oil shock, and also opportunities. And in our case, we can see how citizens reshaped all practices in the energy system that was dominated by a centralized and non-participatory character towards speaking up for their concerns. And these new practices fostered the gradual emerge of small energy cooperatives and some off-grid movements. However, in Sweden, France, Italy, and also Germany, these marginal emerging energy cooperatives and energy community projects experienced a significant boom around the turn of the millennium. And the reason was that states supported the drive for renewables through public subsidies such as feed-in traffics, which became available from that time on. Feed-in traffics, which are also known as FITs, are the electricity part of what some people call the clean energy cashback, which is a scheme that pays people for creating their own green electricity. And the second part of the scheme is the renewable heating incentive, which is a similar measure just for heating. This government support for renewable energy has led to a significant development of renewable energy communities where citizens are participants rather than just consumers, and environmental concerns are slowly becoming mainstream. And this is where the second phase of social innovation in renewable energy can be seen. Citizens are reshaping social practices and traditional energy market institutions and networks by actively participating in renewable energy community projects, including crowdfunding projects. And community energy in that sense refers to the economic and operational participation and or ownership of a renewable energy project by citizens or by members of a particular community. And this had led to the widespread deployment of frescoes, especially in this field of solar, as well as some bioenergy villages. It was kind of the birth of citizen-based community. The growth of community energy initiatives, including also crowdfunding, in many countries was then influenced again in 2007 by the global financial crisis and of course the subsequent Great Recession. which had great consequences across Europe. The Great Recession, which is also known in many countries simply as the crisis, had much more direct, consequential, and long-lasting impact on the individual European citizen than the 1970s oil shock. And recognizable then was a sharp upsurge in interest shown by citizens in issues related to control and supply of energy, especially as a means to create their household expenditure of energy. During the Great Recession, terms such as energy democracy are becoming strong and are seen as more important than the renewable energy topic itself. It was an increasing concern with pricing and supply. Energy democracy itself can be defined as ensuring access to energy for all, producing it without harm to the environment or climate, democratization of the means of energy production, and also rethinking our attitudes to energy consumption. What was recognizable here is the third phase of social innovation, as citizens now are becoming leaders. In this sense, there was a holistic energy movement recognizable, including transition towns, and crowdfunding emerges as a major funding source. Summing up, we can recognize three different phases of social innovation in renewable energy, which are, as mentioned, recognizable by the reconfiguration of certain social practices, institutions, and networks through civil society. Beginning in the 1970s, citizens act as campaigners. Onwards from 2000, citizens start to act as participants. It was a widespread expansion of the first RES scope. And then from 2007 onwards, the citizens start to act as leaders. The journey has clearly shown that at all stages, the focus was on citizens. And of course, the topic today is also very much based on citizens. And therefore, we will now quickly have a look at why citizens are nowadays participating in social innovation projects, such as energy cooperatives, crowdfunding platforms, and further projects. So within the social RES project, 6 factors of motivation have been identified, which is the personal development motivation, territorial, social relationships motivation, political motivation, ecological, and economical motivation. And according to the respondents of the survey, the main criteria for citizens to join social innovation projects such as crowdfunding is the ecological as well as the economic motivation. And of course, there are always also barriers. So the survey also took a look to why do citizens not participate in any clean energy transition projects. So taking a look to the results from owners and managers of crowdfunding platforms, we can see that the lack of funding and the passivity in society are the biggest barriers for citizens to not participate in those projects. In addition, a survey was conducted from the Trinity College Dublin, also within the frame of the Social RES project, to find out more about the reasons why citizens participate in social innovation projects. And here I have the results which are related to crowdfunding. So we can see that in total, 10,000 responses were received from different countries within this survey. The survey included a discrete choice experiment, which is a quantitative method to identify preferences of participants, but without asking them directly about their preferred option. So in the survey, the participants could choose different options. They could choose, for example, the annual return, the amount. They could choose the type of project if they prefer solar to wind energy. They could decide on the size of the project, of course, as well as the location of the project. And very interesting for us today, they could choose between the minimum amount of investment, starting by 10, reaching until 1,000 euro, as well as the investment duration and the type of issuer. The results from the survey respond to the question, what aspects of the crowdfunded projects are important to attract investors? So what we can see here is that the results make clear that participants prefer higher annual return. You can see it on the green highlighted positive preference. They prefer solar to wind. So maybe for your understanding, the question then would have been, do you prefer solar instead of wind? And we can see that the positive preference was highlighted by green. So we can say that they prefer solar to wind. Another result is that they prefer more carbon reduction, so larger renewable projects, and that they are against building renewable projects outside of their country. In addition, we can also say that they dislike investment durations being too long. So they rather prefer 1 to 5 years or 1 to 10 years, and that they prefer councils instead of private companies as a climate bond issuer. With this, I would like to end my presentation, and I am very curious to see how crowdfunding as a social innovation will change traditional financing for energy efficiency projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonja, for this great presentation. Thank you very much. So we are closing now the circle of this capacity building workshop. So as you remember, it's about financing or scaling up energy efficiency investments on buildings. And I'm very happy that we have Massimo here, who has a very, very interesting organization, as they are an energy service company controlled by a bank. And as we have seen, so Luis has identified ESCOs as their main target group also. So yeah, I'm looking very much forward to his presentation now. Massimo?
Thank you, Connie. I try to share my screen. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much for inviting me here. I introduce myself. I'm the general manager of CitizEE ESCO. I'm sorry, but my background experience is in financial markets. And we are an energy service company owned by a joint stock bank, Citibank. Let's think about these concerns, a solution for accelerating green economy investments on the banking system side. Our approach developed the energy efficiency, the renewable energy system applied in private and public projects through the energy performance contract. And we divide the project into phases. Phase 1, the funding scheme and the work. Inside the funding scheme, you can find no refundable rewards, loan, equity. In the equity, there is the crowdfunding, of course. And phase 2, the long-term securitization of energy performance contract. We don't find any problem in the stripping of the contract for dividing the CAPEX and the OPEX. We think that this financing scheme reduces the cost of funding compared with the green bond emissions. The SFDR directive and the ESG's REP implementation by EBA are good news in the last period. I have used this slide in H2020 project, the delivery. I don't know if it will be possible to test, but the meaning is clear. With a part of the retail investments, we could be able to finance the equity in phase 1. The securitization of the debt in phase 2 ends with the segregation of the assets in a long-term investment product, usually asset-backed security, or in a product like a pension plan scheme. We think that this is a win-win solution because is a debt arbitrage, short, long to investors. It could be very useful for us. Really, is not the only solution for the capex, because in the financial market we can test other solutions like the structured product. I don't know the reason why it's not considered the structured products for the project securitization. Structures like this kind of structure is called the wedding cake. Could be very useful because they have a fixed coupon, a floating premium based on savings, and a capital full protected at maturity. So for us, it could be a good solution, but the market don't apply this kind of structures. To reach the financing goals of a project, there are two pillars. In one hand, there is a structured operational approach like this. This is our structural operational approach with the EPC contract. On the other hand, we have the bankability of a project. These are for us the two pillars for a good project. Two final considerations for equity crowdfunding. The first is related to the risk differences between equity and loan. If we use a strict process of evaluation, the differences or the difference is only the duration, is not the risk. A second proposal or a second consideration is that if the previous consideration is true, why not give a guarantee on the equity crowdfunding through the platforms, especially if related to the track record. We think that this could be a good solution for increase the investors and the amount for each investment. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you very much, Massimo, for this interesting presentation. I think that, in fact, a new EU Invest framework foresees to unlock more investments by providing guarantees for private investments. So this may fit to your recommendation or observation or wish, or yes. So thank you very much to all of you. I think it was a very great overview or journey through different pillars of crowdfunding or increasing private investments for energy efficiency. We will now invite you all to the panel discussion. So the idea is now that we can address the questions that have been raised by the audience. And it's quite interesting because I think 2 or 3 overlapped nearly with the questions I had prepared. So we can maybe answer them all together. Yes, I will maybe start with Olga with your first question. So it's Olga asking to Olga. Wait a second. So what motivates authorities to join and become one of the funders of the platform? Can you mention who are these authorities and what requirements you have for letting them join?
Yeah, thanks a lot for the question. Our experience, I will quickly tell about it before answering the question, is, for example, an investment by Energy for Impact. They co-invested in 3 of our projects. And the good thing about it is it motivated other investors to invest even more, because they have seen such an institution that many people know decided to invest in this project. So it was kind of increase by the co-investor. The good thing about it was as well that it's a recurring and increasing loan, because the repayment will not go back to the public authority, but be reinvested in further projects when the projects are repaid, and even the interest rate. So the repayment of the principal and the interest rate will be reinvested in further projects in the next years. So the motivation for the public authority, I would say it's our goal to reduce the carbon footprint and to achieve a higher percentage of renewables and via energy efficiency. This is our goal from by Bettervest, because CO2 reduction is very important for us, and that's why we are here as well. I think this is the main aspect. But apart from that, the public authority can also be interested in motivating to the private investors to invest, to increase the private investments in general. So it is kind of a motivational factor, let's say, to increase at the end the total sum of an investment. And I think this is it.
Thank you. I think this has some overlaps with the questions that were raised to Valéry. So it seems that either corporates or public authorities can play a crucial role for motivating citizens, or for inviting others to follow. Do you see this also in this way, Valéry?
Yeah, well, I think there is some community of interest. I mean, if we are serious about the energy transition, we must try to reach what we like to call the maturity of crowdfunding. The maturity of crowdfunding is today not achieved. When you offer 6 or 7% interest rate to a lending campaign, this is not mature, because you have to add, of course, the cost for the crowdfunding platforms. And as the market is, of course, booming, but it's still quite little, the crowdfunding platforms must survive. And in order to survive, their cost to a given project is still rather high. So we need more volume. In order to get more volume, we need to de-risk the projects. And that is why we believe that mature companies such as EDF, but others as well, who know about wind turbine, who know about PV, who know about actually many other things, because we're talking about renewable energy mostly, and a little bit of energy efficiency. I think we should expand to topics that people like. Think about mobility and clean mobility, electric mobility, urban electric mobility, so many other topics. And then so we have to expand in order to grow the number of projects, because as of today, what limits is the number of projects that are de-risked or that present very little risk, and again, the maturity. So what is interesting by joining, and let me take an example. When I showed the example of revamping to LEDs in the city of Bouillante, what was very interesting on the crowdfunding platform that day, and this is 3 years ago or so, we were offering 3.25% interest rate, okay, to the citizens. And we had a double logo. We had the city of Bouillante / EDF, okay, as running the campaign. Next to it, on the same page, on the same web page, that morning of December 2017 or something, we had 2 other campaigns on PV by small developers, offering respectively 8.7 and 9.5% interest rate to the citizen who would bring their money, right? So 325 8795. I was very scared because I said, hey, no way our campaign is gonna work. We're gonna lose, nobody will join because everybody will put their money on the 8.7 and 9.5. Actually, no, because people understand because of transparency that the risk is higher with the interest rate, and that because the developer were small developers. And we finished our campaign in a couple of hours, and the two others were stagnant. So this is, I believe, where we should go. A public authority, we ensure citizens and communities that the projects are serious and safe. A mature energy company can also do the same. So I believe we need, this is some recipe to increase the volume, which is the only way to get the crowdfunding platform being able to decrease their cost by the volume. So at the end of the day, to possibly beat the traditional financial market, because don't forget that we have trillions of euros sleeping on liquid account in Europe, and that money is used today still to finance gas or oil or polluting projects. So we need to go to this direction.
And maybe if I may jump in as well, a further aspect that was mentioned today several times, it's the democratization aspect. Especially so for public authorities, especially on the local level, they can also achieve the participation of the people living in this area to together finance a project and be part of the project. So get information about it, support it as a citizen, and democratization of the citizen in general. And I think this is a very important factor as well when talking about the cooperation between crowdfunding platforms and public authorities.
Thank you, Olga. So maybe, Luis, do you agree with what Valéry suggested? So do you, I think it's very interesting that although we think that people might be interested in high interest rates, that in fact it's the credibility and trustworthy of certain organizations that may raise investments or contributions. Do you agree with this? Is this also your experience? You're muted.
Sorry. Totally. Yes, I agree with Valéry. Credibility, well, in this area of finance, of dealing with money, with investors, credibility is a very important issue. So obviously, crowd lending platforms, because it's still a novelty in terms of business model, we are still talking on the landscape still of startups and businesses with a small scale. It's important for these kind of entities to have credibility that can be assured by, well, validation when they are regulated on their geography. For example, here in Portugal, we are authorized by the Portuguese Securities Commission, but it's also important to bring partners on board for this kind of businesses. Partners not only on the equity side of the crowdlending platform for the investment and growth of the business, but also partners that co-invest alongside with them. So I see the future, well, at least in our case, in terms of bringing more firepower and bringing more visibility, and also consolidate our credibility to bring more institutional investors to our platform. So we believe a lot in the crowd, in the power of the crowd, on the retail investors. But if we want to go big, we have to be able to bring also institutional investors for crowd lending. That's where we are working on to bring that further step, and to bring an utility, to bring investment funds, to bring pension funds, to bring public banking bodies to this model. I believe strongly that that will be the future, to increase the capability of this investment model to be able to tackle bigger investments and also to bring to another level the credibility in the market.
Thank you. So Massimo, with your banking experience, which is very valuable in this field, especially when we talk about de-risking and de-risking investments, what is your or how do you think that we can increase these private contributions in energy efficiency? Is it that we need the trust of large corporations, public authorities behind a campaign, or do you have other suggestions?
Thank you, Connie. I think the European sentiment is very ESG now. Okay, so the conditions are very good, and people look forward to be green. We think that the green economy is, I'm sorry, because my experience is in the stock market, so this is my experience and I use it. So the green economy is bottom up, okay, in financial terms, and the renewable energy systems are more efficient when a producer or prosumers are close to consumers. And that means that we spend small amounts for the works, okay. Really, the financial systems are top down, because this is the actual structure of the financial system. It means that they need a small number of big expensive plans for investing. For example, for I don't know, for the markets, a very good project is, I don't know, a nuclear power plant. This is a big investment, and this is the structure of the financial markets that we have now. So this is a big problem, I think, because the financial issues are divergent in this moment. The first step is the direct investment from retailers, and the crowdfunding is perfect in this moment. With a guarantee on capital is necessary, because we have to push investors towards the crowdfunding. The guarantee is necessary for mitigate the risks and to be MiFID compliant, because we have to remember that there is a problem with the MiFID in the investments. The next more important step is to introduce financial leverage. It will be possible with the new ETS system, and the energy tokenization is something that is very helpful in a crowdfunding investment. These two new ETS system, and the tokenization of energy, I think, or we think, that could be a good solution with the crowdfunding to increase the amount or the investment in the rest, in the renewable energy systems.
Thank you. So now we switch a little bit to the bottom again, so to the crowd. We have a question from Joan to Sonja. So he would like to ask how you see the role of young people in establishing energy communities. So do you consider that they have or that they are involved in the energy transition?
Yes, thank you very much for this good question. I think I'm a representative of the young people as well. So far the role of young people is quite seldom, to be honest. And the survey, which was conducted by the Trinity College Dublin, highlights also that members of energy communities are around 50 years old in average. They have a rather high income, and they have like maybe some notes on the side, left-wing political attitude. So yeah, we do not see a strong involvement of young people so far in the energy transition. However, what we can notice is that there is an increasing number of courses of studies for young people that focus on individual aspects of successfully managing an energy transition, but no active participation so far. Yeah.
Well, actually, if I may, this is actually very interesting, and hopefully GreenFoot or the football could be an edge to help in this direction, because I'm quite surprised by this conclusion. Yeah. So we should, I think, collectively find ways to engage the newer generation. And in GreenFoot, as an example of innovation, we're considering as part of a reward some lottery to get an electric car, for instance, out of 500 or 1,000, depending on the price and the cost and things. So yeah, we welcome all of you for ideas, and hopefully the European legislation will allow this kind of hybridation in the campaigns, because if we have to stick to a lending campaign like giving 3%, this is kind of boring. So what we think is that if we want to target, and let's stop just putting 3% of the project for crowdfunding. I mean, we should have 50%, 100% of the project by crowdfunding, because the money is there. It's not a question of money, it's a question of cost, as I was mentioning before, and also finding the right interest of the right individual. And maybe an individual will prefer some financial interest, maybe an individual will prefer because it's its own district, or maybe because it's sport, because there's a lottery, because there's, whatever. We should just multiply the offer exactly like the reward campaign. The reward campaign, when you support an artist or something, you have the choice all the time. You have the choice between, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 different options. So we have to, I believe, combine this financial, extra financial, to attract especially the younger generation, because that's what matters the most.
I think, just on a side note, I was on another project meeting of comments about energy communities, and there I heard a very interesting presentation from my master's students. The gender dimension in energy communities is also very low, so it seems that there also needs to be work to attract more women and female participants in energy communities or in these renewable energy projects also. It seems that there is also a huge potential. So maybe, Valéry, you just have stopped talking, but another question from Olga from the audience. So how can we pursue you to run together with ÖDF a crowdfunding campaign on Bettervest or Go Parity?
Sorry, what is the question? How to run a campaign?
How can we pursue you? So what is your requirement to say, okay, let's go, we put the EDF label on this project to increase the funding?
Okay, you just beat the cost of your competitors and you're in. No, I'm actually, it's, we are developing projects throughout Europe and throughout the world, and hopefully this European legislation that is being put in place will help cross-border. We believe there's a very strong potential, and Luis, you're in Portugal. My favorite example is about PV. PV, Sonja said, is a preferred compared to wind, and we understand, of course, why. Look, let's figure that you're living in Hamburg, in Germany, or in Lille, in the north of France. Guess what? There's no sun. You cannot change the world or the rotation of the planet, right? There's no sun. In Portugal, you have plenty of sun. What we like in this crowdfunding campaign let's say you're a fan of Benfica or Porto, or or you go to vacation in Portugal, we would like to offer some opportunity to either equity or land a part of a PV on a stadium, on a public building in Portugal, because you have double amount of sun compared to Dunkerque, Lille, or Hamburg. And because with the same amount of money, you would have a double impact. So, you know, that is the kind of cross-border projects we're looking for.
Great, I will take notice on that.
And so go talk to Benfica or Porto, because or other clubs, because indeed, you know, it's like diaspora. That's very interesting, because we when you reach out, we have friends from India. Okay, the supporter of the Real in Madrid, right? You have people that like. I'm talking about GreenFoot, of course, but you understand that GreenFoot is just a foot that we want to put in the door to open, because next, after football, you have swimming pools, you have other buildings which are extremely energy intensive. So I think this is an opportunity to go after with not a financial product, not like a traditional thing, because we have to do, you know, design thinking. Go talk to what people expect from us, and not the reverse.
Yes, talking just to complement and talking also about innovative ways of crowd lending in terms of products in community. We are actually nowadays in Portugal, well, we are giving the first steps for the so-called energy communities. So the possibility of a group of a condominium or a group of houses to produce a PV, via PV solar central, to produce their own energy and to sell it directly to the community of energy. That's the first step that we are giving in Portugal nowadays. And what we are looking for, because it's energy community, it has all to do with crowd lending and community lending. So we are working on the possibility for advancing on the crowd lending campaign for this energy community, and the ability for the participants on energy community not to receive their return in the form of interest, but to receive it in the form of a discount on their electric bill. So it's a very, well, it's not it's already used in other frameworks. It's a very simple framework, but it's also a very interesting way of involving the community and having a right and real impact in terms of investing on a project that is directly impacting on me, on my community, and also to gaining for that.
Thank you. So maybe the last question to Massimo before we sum up this round and come to a short closing statement. So Massimo, I think it's super interesting to see this collaboration between crowdfunding and banks. So where do you see, does it go in the next years? Because when crowdfunding came up, some people were scared, okay, they will take completely over the banking system maybe. I think that it's quite, they both are quite collaborating quite well together, at least in some projects. How is your experiences when providing service contracts to clients? You are muted.
Yeah. Okay, for us, we have this year, sorry. We started 2 projects with the crowdfunding equity. We use the crowdfunding equity, and for us, the main rule or the main rules of crowdfunding are the share of the targets in a local community, for example. This is a very important target for us. I hope in future the role of crowdfunding is for us to the closure of the cleavage between finance and economy, because we talk about it, and in the crowdfunding there are a lot of beautiful projects, but the amounts are very tiny up to now for a new economic model as the green economy is. Okay, for example, to adapt for me is very important to involve a company like DEF in the VPP, in the virtual power plants. This is a very important rule, because you have some different communities, local communities, and you need a DSO and TSO for organize the transfer of the energy between more economies. And so we talked before of the tokenization of energy. This is a good target for the future. Another thing is that, for example, I don't agree with the concept of, for example, of grid parity, okay? Because on one hand, we have a problem, the hydrocarbons. On the other hand, we have a solution, the rest, the renewable energy systems. So we think that we have to start to evaluate the not direct revenues inside the financing schemes. We have done last year and in the first month of this year 2 interesting projects. One was in a school, a kind of charter school here in Italy. Okay, is the first charter school in Italy. I think it's the first, but probably it is. And the other is in a structure for against in a social housing structure that we financing it for against the energy poverty that I think was one of the topics of Olga. I don't know if it was or told of Olga or Sonja. So we think that banking is a good solution for loan. I don't agree with the loan solution with crowdfunding, but I'm very enthusiastic of the equity crowdfunding. This is my opinion, and I think this is the future of this instrument for financing a lot of projects in future for us. This is my opinion.
For integrate your question. Regarding the integration within crowdfunding, investor, and banking, very short answer is not easy, because you know, it's a competitor in this moment in the actual mentality, because the bank thinks that the crowdfunding instrument is not good because it's a competitor, you know. But I think that in the future probably a new kind of thing is becoming, I think.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think it's very interesting to see different opinions. And yeah, Olga, do you had the impression you want to step in?
May I? Do we still have time? I will be quick.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Because Massimo mentioned a very important point, and I would like to react on that directly. It was the ticket size, because he mentioned like the ticket sizes when it comes to crowdfunding are very often small, and I've seen that as well. And this was also one of the reasons why we have created a structure, and we started working with it, because the structure also enables us to bring together several crowdfunding platforms, and by that to fund bigger projects. For example, since we have this new structure, I mean, we started this year, we are still in the learning phase, but we have put a project online worth 2 million. The next will be 2.2 million, and so on. We are increasing. Before, these were much smaller ticket sizes, but now we are like combining several co-funders, and at the moment there are a lot of other crowdfunding platforms that are co-investing and achieving a higher ticket size by that. And maybe also one comment on the gender topic, because you said that not many women are seen in that kind of projects. Actually, last year I've done a statistical overview about our projects, and you cannot see it everywhere, but I was amazed that 40% of our project owners had a minimum one woman in the management of the projects that we have funded, which we were quite proud of.
Yeah, I think that's better than in some others, but it will change. Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone. I think we make a very short last closing round. So maybe every one of you is invited to provide a final closing statement on yeah, what is your personal view? How can we accelerate private investments for the energy transition, or the role of crowdfunding? So just one final statement before closing this workshop. Who starts? Maybe Sonja?
Okay, thank you. So maybe just on the quick sentence. So what we recognized in other project is that really community municipal investments. So municipality climate bonds are very successfully. So maybe this could be a good approach to also attract citizens nearby, as we know they prefer to have it close to their location, and they prefer to have as an issue local authorities. Yeah.
Thank you. Massimo, your closing statement.
For us, okay, we think that crowdfunding with equity crowdfunding, of course, with a new ETS system are necessary. And the new ETS system for us will be better if more similar to the Italian white certificate for financing the not direct revenues to increase the rest against the traditional systems.
Thank you. So Olga, your view.
Yeah, so I mean, it was mentioned several times. I think a little bit more of curiosity by public authority when it comes to crowdfunding platforms, and from the crowdfunding platforms, increase in credibility also via being open and I think share the processes and so on. This is what's necessary. And I think when both parties continue and increase communicating, even more creative new solutions can come up, I'm sure about that.
Very nice, thank you. Luis.
Yes, I think, well, I have two main issues. The first one is, well, picking up on what Sonja commented on the community municipal bonds. That is also actually a model that is common, for example, in the UK, crowd lending for community bonds, that it works very well. So I think what it's lacking is for example, I can speak for Portugal. It's a good case study, you know, a good crowdfunding platform with a public authority. We are also targeting municipalities because we believe those are the ones that are more close to people. And in Portugal, we just have two levels, the local and the central government. So we don't have that many choice, but we are targeting municipalities, and we believe strongly in the model. We just need a good case study, and we have no doubts that with a good case study, the others will follow on. The second comment that I would like to say, it's about the landscape of crowdlending. And as we all know, it's very limited nowadays in Europe because of the different regulations all over Europe. So we believe a lot in the new European crowdlending regulation, and it's here. It's a couple of weeks away, although I believe it will be take a little longer to implement all over Europe, but I think it's a transformational moment for crowdlending in Europe to create a level playing field where Portuguese crowdlending platform can operate all over the 27 European countries with the same rules. And I think that will be the final step for crowdlending to be a stronger alternative finance model in Europe. And obviously that will have an indirect impact on these segment models of crowdfunding for impact investments. So I think we are on the corner of something very good for this model that will definitely, in the short term, will have novelty and good news to come. Thank you.
Many thanks for this. I'm happy that you said this, so I don't do too much promotion for our work, but happy that you are looking forward to how this will change the crowdfunding industry across Europe. So it will be interesting. Last but not least, it seems we need more corporates like EDF who combine a little bit the public authorities, the crowdfunding, and just push forward projects. Valéry, your final statement.
Yeah, well, thank you, Connie. I think the key and the secret recipe is to join our forces and to join our best practices. CitizEE project, I like very much the survey, and you talked about community municipal bonds. You talk about Luis about electric bills reductions that people like a lot, especially in this context. I invite you all to continue exchanging. I would like to thank Connie, your crowd, and CrowdTuesday for this organization. I think more we exchange about what works, what people like, what people want, better it will be. And crowdfunding is still at the beginning. I do believe that a lending will show the way because it's very easy, very practical. Let's work together towards the maturity of this, so that the financial world does not see that as just something a little different, but that it becomes mainstream. So I will be very happy to continue interacting with some of you from the panel and some participants to this workshop. So please feel free to reach out and go crowdfunding in Europe.
Thank you. This was great. So yeah, I also would like to thank to all of you. I'm very, very happy to put a little bit together the projects about energy communities like COMET, CitizEE, investment platforms. We are involved in PowerPool, which is about energy poverty, which is also very interesting, and GREENFOOT, of course, where we can exploit a little bit the emotional SAM community. And yes, so happy to connect, happy to share results. I think this is the intention of the European Commission by funding these projects and an indirect way of cooperating with crowdfunding. So let's see what the next year's bring, especially the new regulation. And yes, then I wish you all a very nice late afternoon, early evening. Thank you so much. And please, everyone, feel free to reach out to me or to the panelists for questions, information, reports. yeah, so we have, I think, all a lot of information and knowledge to share and are happy to do so. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
So